It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Worldwide Sports Radio presents the Haystack Show. With Mike Guido.
And it's the Haystack Show on a awesome, beautiful Monday, January 20th. Welcome into this edition of the Haystack. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend on Conference Championship game weekend. We now have our matchups for the Super Bowl. It will be the Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. I am your fill-in host for the day, Evan Mazza. Mike Guido is not in today. So starting quarterback is out. Backup quarterback back in. Got to do the job. Got to do the best that we can here on this beautiful Monday, January 20th, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day as we celebrate the life and legacy and teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We have our Super Bowl matchup. It is the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers after the Chiefs and 49ers got big wins over on yesterday against the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers. Super Bowl 54 in Miami, Florida will be the Chiefs and the 49ers. Great. I think it's a great, interesting matchup. It's the two best teams in the NFL all season long, as it's what it is, what turned out to be. And I think we're in for a good game. But before we get to we'll have 2 weeks to talk about the matchup. We'll have 2 weeks to talk about the game itself. Let's get to the weekends. Let's get to the weekend games you guys want to call. The number to dial is 845-478-3272. That number again is 845-478-3272. Call into the Haystack. Let's have some fun. Join the conversation. Before we get to the Kansas City Chiefs, we'll start off with the AFC Championship game. But before we get to the Kansas City Chiefs, before we get to their big win, we do have to start with the Tennessee Titans. I really feel like we do have to start with the Titans and put a bow on their 2019 season. Their season was a tremendous Cinderella run. It was a great, great run. I think if we looked at the Titans season and say, well, it was a failure because they got to the AFC Championship game and lost, I think that's a little unfair to say about the Titans. They had a really, really great year and a heck of a run. And I understand if the Titans fans are waking up this morning and saying, man, we lost in the AFC Championship. That was, we never know when you're going to get back. And that is all true. That's all true. You never know. Even if you're a team that is a Cinderella on this magical run thing, you never know when you're going to get back. I'm a Mets fan. The Mets made the run to the World Series, and while I was satisfied and happy with the way the year turned out, not expecting a run to the World Series, you still woke up and say, well, yeah, that was a disappointment because we lost, and you never know when you're going to get back. And, hey, 4 years later, the Mets have yet to get back to a World Series since 2015. So, yeah, sure. It's true that if you're a Titans fan saying, man, we have no idea when we're going to get back, we lost a tough one. We were up 17-7. We had control of this game early on. That might have been our best shot. And that was the Titans' first AFC Championship game appearance yesterday since the 2002 AFC title game where they lost to the Oakland Raiders. So I understand the vibe of Titans fans if you wake up this morning saying, disappointment, we don't know when we're going to get back. But big picture, this was a great year for the Titans. A fantastic year. You showed so much. You were 2-4 to start the year. You made the change at quarterback from Mariota to Tannehill, and that's why you got Ryan Tannehill. You got Ryan Tannehill as an insurance just in case things went wrong with Marcus Mariota, and unfortunately they did. I like Mariota. I do. I look forward to seeing where he goes next year to maybe get a fresh start on his career. And, of course, Ryan Tannehill's free agency will be key because Tannehill in the second half of the year was fantastic. He was a top 10 quarterback statistically in the NFL over the second half of the 2019 season. And Derrick Henry was a monster, and he continued into the postseason. Him and Pat Mahomes were the two postseason MVPs. Mike Vrabel coached an absolutely fantastic job coaching this football team. The defense picked up. They were good. Derrick Henry was fantastic. Tannehill was really good. The offensive line was strong. You give all the credit in the world to Mike Vrabel, all the credit in the world to Mike Vrabel of how good of a job he did coaching this team and getting them to the playoffs at 9-7, turning them around from 2-4 to 9-7 into the postseason, and then moving on to the postseason and no one giving you a shot in any game you had. No one really gave a shot. The New England Patriots, and I was one of them. We all said, hey, New England's the postseason. They're going to turn around. They'll be fine. Yeah, they're not coming in strong, but they're going to be okay. That wasn't the case. Tennessee shut down the Patriots. They shut them down the second half of the game. The Titans ran the ball so well on the Patriots. Henry was great. Tannehill, they didn't really ask Tannehill to do much, but he did make big throws when it counted in the fourth quarter to get first downs, and they ended up pulling away with a win, a 14-13 win. Then they go to Baltimore. So that was a big shocker. Mike Vrabel goes and takes his team and beats the coach that he played with and won 3 titles with. And for all we know, depending on what happens with Tom Brady over the course of this offseason, we have heard rumors about Brady that, he's frustrated with his salary and he's looking at moving out of New England. Again, all rumors at this point. We have no idea what Tom Brady's future is, what Tom Brady's future holds. But for all we know, the Tennessee Titans were the team that ended the Patriots dynasty. Again, we'll see what happens with Brady at the end of the season, this offseason. But the Titans came to New England and beat a team that went to 8 straight AFC Championship games and were the reigning defending Super Bowl champions and might have ended their run of dominance. And then they go to Baltimore, the team that was 14-2, had a red-hot quarterback who's probably going to win MVP this next Saturday. A great defense. Again, another great defense, just like the Patriots were a real good defense. Well coached. Were red hot, number 1 seed, Super Bowl favorites to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. They go into Baltimore and dominate them. This game was not close. Down 28-6. They dominated them from start to finish. That game was dominant by the Tennessee Titans. Again, testament to how good they were this postseason, how they turned things around. And they go to Kansas City. Hey, no, you're up 17-7. You were playing your game, but unfortunately, Kansas City was just better. Pat Mahomes was red hot. Pat Mahomes was fantastic. Pat Mahomes is currently having one of the best postseasons we've had seen for a quarterback. It was just too much Chiefs. What are you going to do? You ran into a team that was just really good, and they're playing great. There's no shame in that. The Tennessee Titans, to put a bow in their 2019 season, had an amazing year, a year that us NFL fans will remember, a year that Titans fans will remember. And I think it's a season. They'll have some off-season decisions to make. Ryan Tannehill, again, he had a great second half of the year at a so-so postseason. But he did lead them as the quarterback to the postseason, and was a top 10 quarterback in the second half of the year. They have a decision to make with him as he's a free agent. Derrick Henry, you have no choice but to re-sign him. If you don't re-sign him, you're crazy. Jack Coughlin's been a key cog in that offensive line. He's a free agent. So the Titans will have some decisions to make a quarterback, decisions on who to pay and who not to pay. But if you're a Titans fan waking up this morning, don't feel, sure, you think, hey, you never know when you're going to get back. You never know if that might have been our last shot for a while. But you wake up and say, hey, you know what? We had a great year. We had a year that we can remember, a year that we can say we were underdogs. No one gave us a shot. We had a magical run. And it's a season that we could look back on saying, hey, that was a great building piece for maybe future things to come, because we have a foundation, we have an identity, and a coach that's going to carry over that identity and foundation. So that's just to put a bow on the Titans season, onto, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. What else can you say about Pat Mahomes? What else can you say about him? We could debate if he's the best quarterback in the NFL. It's either Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. That's kind of, if you want to throw Lamar Jackson in there, but that's kind of the class, right? That's kind of the class of where we look at who we can debate who the best quarterback in the NFL is. And Pat Mahomes has been called the best quarterback in the NFL really for the better part of almost 2 years now. We could debate all that. If there is one thing I do believe, and I do think, is that we can this is not a shot at Aaron Rodgers, but I do think we can officially take off the label. For years and years, we had the label of Aaron Rodgers as the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. I think we could take that label off of him now and put it on Patrick Mahomes. If there is one thing I will say about Pat Mahomes, it's that. He is now the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. Again, not a shot at Aaron Rodgers. He's still great. Not a performance yesterday that Rodgers is going to want to look on. We'll get to that. We'll get to the NFC title game later on in the show. But Pat Mahomes currently at the age, it's more so to do with age, right? Aaron Rodgers is going to be 36. And Pat Mahomes is 25, 24. He's taken over the league. He's the best. He is the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. And what you see of him yesterday is, again, why he is. Pat Mahomes never really had a sophomore slump, I should say. Usually we look at sophomore quarterbacks in their second year starting, or even in their second years entirely. This is Pat Mahomes' third year in the NFL, second year as a starter. usually they have sophomore slumps. Usually they have a little couple, some games where they're going through bumps in the road. And yeah, Pat Mahomes had the injury that happened to him, and he had to miss a couple weeks. But his first game back, he threw for 400 yards or 380 plus yards. Pat Mahomes is great his first game back, and I believe that was against the Houston Texans. Pat Mahomes has never really had a sophomore slump. He never really had a sophomore slump, which is crazy to think. He's been really good to great all season long, really ever since, again, really good to great all these 2 years. He's been the starting quarterback since the Chiefs traded Alex Smith and officially made Pat Mahomes the starter. And he is taking over the National Football League, and here's his opportunity now to complete this postseason that has been so far to this point one of the best postseasons we've seen for a quarterback. Pat Mahomes so far this postseason. And overall, Pat Mahomes has been great in the postseason so far in his first 2 years. And again, that's great if you're a Chiefs fan. That's great for Kansas City to have a quarterback in his first 2 playoff years. Again, doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen all the time where a quarterback is great off in the playoffs off the bat. That doesn't happen all the time. And if it doesn't happen right off the bat, that's not a problem. I think we talked about last week with Lamar Jackson. I think he'll be fine. He'll get his playoff wins. But for Pat Mahomes, so far so good in the postseason. Pat Mahomes, so far in the postseason overall, 3-1, 89 of 142, 62.7 completion percentage, over 1,188 passing yards, 11 touchdowns and 0 picks. This postseason, 46 of 70, 65.7 completion percentage, 615 yards, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. A passer rating this postseason of 131.5. Overall in the postseason, 115. He's been great. And there's nothing more you can say about Pat Mahomes and what defines Pat Mahomes and what we've seen these last 2 weeks. Being down 24-0 and all of and then just, again, not really affecting him. Again, did the Texans collapsing and the fake punt and the kickoff fumble, did that all play a factor? Of course it did. The kickoff return by Mekhi Hardman, did the Texans collapsing play a factor? Sure, of course it did. But Pat Mahomes being down 24-0 didn't lose confidence, wasn't panicking. The whole entire Chiefs team wasn't panicking. Mahomes wasn't panicking. Mahomes just stayed cool. We're gonna be okay. Let's get back in this game. Let's keep fighting. And before you know it, they went on a 51-7 run and they ended up winning the game. Again, that's a testament to how good Pat Mahomes is. And then yesterday, here comes a red-hot Tennessee Titans team that has pulled off an upset against the Patriots, pulled off an upset against the Baltimore Ravens, all on the road. They're road warriors right now. They're playing with confidence. They're playing with nothing to lose. They're playing with house money. They're playing with all the confidence in the world that they can go into Kansas City. And they have a win over Kansas City, a boot, in the regular season. So they have all the confidence in the world in themselves to go into Kansas City and pull it off and go to the Super Bowl. And right off the bat, they go up 17-7. And you're thinking, oh, not saying it's over, but it's like, okay, we have a ball game here. Kansas City, just like last week, is going to have to fight back and climb back. Sure, this isn't 24-0, but they're going to have to fight back. They're going to have to climb back into this game and get a win here. And Pat Mahomes is going to have to lead the charge. And Pat Mahomes, sure enough, he does. Finishes the day 23 of 35, 294, 3 passing touchdowns, and scores an unbelievable rushing touchdown right before the half. That was, if there was... That play is going to be remembered in Chiefs history as one of the best players in the history of the franchise. Is one of the best plays in the history of the franchise, and one of the best plays in this postseason run. And maybe Pat Mahomes has only been the starting quarterback for 2 years in the league, but that play, out of all the great throws he's made, and trust me, this dude, and we've all known the amount of great throws he's made, and all the great passes and all the great touchdown throws, but that run is going to be put in Pat Mahomes' highlight reel for a long time to come. That is his defining, that might be, to this point, before the Super Bowl, that is Pat Mahomes' defining play. Because it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And that touchdown, the way the crowd was going crazy, the way the Chiefs were going crazy, and that touchdown before the half to give them the lead, you knew right there the Chiefs were winning this game. Like that, again, not to a slight to the Titans and to count them out, but you knew when Pat Mahomes scored that touchdown at the half. But right before the half, you're thinking, this game is over. You're thinking to yourself, this game is over. Like, Kansas City is going to win this game. It's 21-17, sure. It's still a ball game, sure. But you got that feeling in the back of your mind that Pat Mahomes just right there in that touchdown run just won them this game. You just had that feeling in the back of your mind. What we're seeing from Pat Mahomes now is the his is his moment. And again, you got a great 49ers team coming in and playing in the Super Bowl. But what you saw from Pat Mahomes these last 2 weeks in the postseason he's been money. He's been close to flawless. No one's perfect, but Pat Mahomes has been close to flawless. And not letting deficits bother you. 24-0, hey, it's okay. We're going to get back in this. Sure enough, they win. They go on a 51-7 run. Being down 17-7 yesterday against a team that was red hot and was on this magical run. It's okay. We're going to be all right. Let's just keep playing. Let's just keep going. Let's get a drive going. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Pat Mahomes, again, we can debate if he's the best quarterback in the NFL. We could debate if he's if he's the best. I mean, again, there's a whole list of guys we can name. Russell, Deshaun, Brady, Breeze, Ben. If you want to put Lamar in there, Rodgers. We can all list. We can list them. It's a debate that we can have. All year long. Some people will label a best quarterback in the NFL simply based off 1 year he had. Right. We've seen it before. I mean, I've seen a 2010 season where Josh Freeman was great, and automatically he was put by many as a top 10 quarterback. But I think right now, if there is one thing I could say about Pat Mahomes, is that he has taken over that mantra that was once held by Aaron Rodgers as the most talented quarterback in the National Football League, and Pat Mahomes has now taken that. That label is now his. And if the last 2 years, regular seasons of Pat Mahomes didn't prove it for a lot of people, then I think these postseasons have proved it, and I definitely think these last 2 games have proved it. He has taken over the mantra as the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. And Pat Mahomes has a golden opportunity at his young age, at 25 years old, to win a Super Bowl at 25, and not only, 24 years old, to win a Super Bowl, and not only bring the first Super Bowl title back to Kansas City since Super Bowl IV, but be a first in what could be many. Again, long way to go. You never know what's going to happen. He's got a real tough 49ers team that they got to play. And even if Pat Mahomes does win a Super Bowl, hey, we have no idea when he's going to get back. That's all true. When Aaron Rodgers won in 2010, a lot of us pictured that there'd be more Super Bowl titles in the future for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. That hasn't happened. When Drew Brees and the Saints won their first Super Bowl against the Colts, we all pictured, it's going to be the first of many for Drew Brees and the Saints. Well, that hasn't happened. Long way to go. We can't really tell what's going to happen beyond Super Bowl 54. But Pat Mahomes has a great opportunity to win this game at 24 years old and get a first of what could be a couple, could be 2, could be 3. We could be looking at something special in Kansas City and something special with Pat Mahomes. We really could be. He is right now the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. And he's taking over the league. He's taking over the quarterback position right now, and he's taking over the playoffs. Him and Derrick Henry have been the 2 postseason MVPs. Pat Mahomes and Derrick Henry. They've been the 2 postseason MVPs. They have been. And Pat Mahomes, against a real tough 49ers defense, has an opportunity to get his first title, first of what could be many. You just watched yesterday, and you just come away with Pat Mahomes just by saying, wow. So coming up next on the Haystack Show, we'll keep diving in more into the AFC title game and diving into more on Andy Reid. Andy Reid going back to the Super Bowl, first time in 15 years. We'll talk about Andy Reid and his legacy when we get back after this.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Haystack Show. I'm your fill-in host, Evan Mazza, for the day. Mike Guido is out. Like I said, backup quarterback in for Mike. Hopefully, we're hoping to have Mike back tomorrow. We get back to the AFC Championship game and the end result. The Chiefs obviously getting a big win over the Tennessee Titans. They go to their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 54. Since Super Bowl 4. 50 years for the Kansas City Chiefs. It really is amazing because the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were talking about this on the pregame show on CBS, the Kansas City Chiefs have a long list of, again, great players, Hall of Fame caliber players over the course of their history. And again, just now they're getting back to a Super Bowl 50 years later. It's a test. It's a sign of how hard it is to get back to a Super Bowl. One team's quest to get back there. A team that a lot of people recognize. Well, a lot of people recognize when we talk about the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs are one of the teams that do get brought up, and Arrowhead Stadium and the atmosphere of that stadium, and quarterbacks who have been there like Len Dawson and now Joe Montana, Trent Green, Alex Smith, now of course Pat Mahomes. Some of the great running backs, of course, recent memory like Priest Holmes, and it's great defensive Hall of Fame players like Derek Thomas. Kansas City. It tells you a lot of great players they've had, and it tells you how hard it is to get back. And I think a lot of the Chiefs' 50 years of trying to get back to a Super Bowl all resembles back to the guy that is currently their head coach, right? For the last two generations, there's been a couple of common coaches, right? There's Bill Belichick, of course. Bill Belichick is number one. We all know Bill Belichick. Well, who's the other one? Well, it's Andy Reid. Yeah, Sean Payton has a Super Bowl, but it's not really Sean Payton. It's Andy Reid. Andy Reid has been the constant, other than Belichick, in terms of head coaches over the last 2 decades. He's been the one constant, and he's the only one who doesn't have with Belichick, who doesn't have a Super Bowl. Belichick has a Super Bowl, and you look at the current really good coaches out there. Sean Payton, he has a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy, he has a Super Bowl. John Harbaugh, he has a Super Bowl. Doug Peterson, Andy Reid's protege, has a Super Bowl. Andy Reid has just like the Kansas City Chiefs in its entire 50 years, has a quest to get back. And that's why this match with Reid and the Chiefs was perfect when they hired him. It was perfect. First of all, the Chiefs needed Andy Reid. The Kansas City needed Andy Reid at that point in time in 2013. Andy Reid got fired by the Eagles. Obviously, things just, again, it was for Philadelphia and the Eagles. It was time to move on. It was just time to move on between Andy Reid and the Eagles. He went to a perfect destination in Kansas City, and since then, Andy Reid and the Chiefs have been to the postseason 6 times: 2013, 2015, 2016, 17, 18. Now this year. They've been to the postseason 6 times in 7 years he's been the head coach. They've missed it once, 2014. What Andy Reid has done, what Andy Reid and the Chiefs have done, and Andy Reid's journey and his quest to get back to Super Bowl. This is the first Super Bowl he's been to since Super Bowl 39. So again, 15 years later since his last Super Bowl appearance, and here he is back. And everyone knows, everyone's made the jokes. Everyone has talked about Andy Reid's postseason failures. Obviously, well documented in Philadelphia. 1-5 in NFC Championship game appearances. Lost 3 in a row to the St. Louis Rams in 2001, the Carolina Panthers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2002, the Carolina Panthers in 2003. Finally getting over the hump and beating the Atlanta Falcons in 2004, and then unfortunately losing to Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Making the playoffs in 2006 with Jeff Garcia, quarterback, after McNabb's injury. Getting back to the NFC title game in 2008, losing to a Cinderella story, magical team like the Arizona Cardinals. They go to the Super Bowl. And, of course, and unfortunately, the 2011 Dream Team, of course, didn't work out for Andy Reid in the Eagles. The year before that, they had a great run, lost to the Green Bay Packers in 2010 at home. Andy Reid was fired at the end of the 2012 season. He goes to Kansas City. Again, they've been great. They've gone to the playoffs 6 of 7 years he's been the head coach. But again, more playoff heartbreak. 2013, the big playoff collapse against the Colts. 2015, losing to, I believe it was the New England Patriots in the divisional round that year. 2016, losing to the Steelers at home. The Chiefs were the number 2 seed in the NFL that year in 2016. In the NFL that year in 2016. Lost at home to field goals to Pittsburgh. And then 2017, home playoff game against the said Tennessee Titans. Again, another collapse, and lost to Marcus Mariota and the Titans. Another collapse. Last year, they had it won. But Dee Ford jumped off sides, and they ended up losing the game. Andy Reid's quest to get back to a Super Bowl has been a journey of ups and downs, massive playoff heartbreaks, and here he is finally back after 15 years And Andy Reid has been one of the best head coaches in the NFL for 20 years, and you root for a guy like that. You root for Andy Reid. Andy Reid's career overall, postseason and regular season, and regular season. Postseason 207, 128 and 1. Postseason 14 and 14. All adds up to 221 wins, 142 losses, and 1 tie. Yesterday, the title game win got him to 14 and 14, 500 record the postseason, and got him his second championship game win. And I said this last week after they beat Houston, that this was Andy Reid's best shot to get back, right? New England's out. New England's gone. They're out. They lose to Tennessee. Baltimore's out. They're gone. And those are Kansas City beat them both in the regular season. They did beat them both in the regular season, but as threats to the Chiefs' opportunity to get to a Super Bowl, the Ravens and the Patriots were pretty much the two teams that you knew could step in and beat them. Well, that didn't happen. Both of them are knocked out by Tennessee. Houston was the other team that we all thought, hey, they could, they're really good, they can make a run, but then they collapsed, and Kansas City came back and won, and from a 24-0 deficit. This was Andy Reid's this season. Again, all goes back to you never know when you're going to get that shot again. And for Andy Reid, it took 15 years to get this shot again. For Reid, after 15 years, now it all added up to this postseason and this opportunity to finally get over the hump, finally get back, and now win the Super Bowl. And just like Pat Mahomes, again, has a tough task. The whole Chiefs team have a tough task with San Francisco. But Andy Reid's journey to get back to a Super Bowl has been incredible. And you root for, you see a lot of tweets from everyone, former teammates that he coached, especially from Philadelphia, are shooting out text or putting tweets out saying, "Hey man, awesome for you, Andy Reid. We're rooting for you. And I think that's the mindset of the NFL, and I think going to be the mindset for a lot of fans as we approach Super Bowl 54 is rooting for Andy Reid to get that first ring, to get his first Super Bowl ring as a head coach. Obviously, he's got one as an assistant with the Green Bay Packers from Super Bowl 31. He was he was the quarterback's coach and assistant head coach and tight ends coach when they won the Super Bowl in that year. Assistant offensive line coach and tight ends coach. Yes, when they won that year. So yeah, he has obviously a ring as an assistant, but still waiting on that one for a head coach, which is the big one. That's the big one. And all the success he had with the Eagles. The Eagles were really good. And Andy Reid obviously caught a lot of flack from Philadelphia and not winning a Super Bowl there. And I remember when the Eagles won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, there were a lot of fans and a lot of Philadelphia sports media personalities, happy, saying, "Hey, look at this. We won a Super Bowl without Andy Reid. See, this is what would have happened. We would have fired Andy Reid sooner." And the Eagles I think for most Eagles fans now, as they see Andy Reid in the Super Bowl, you really should, again, just like most of what fans and everyone around the NFL is going to do is root for Andy Reid. And I think that's what I think every Eagles fan should do. Everybody in the city of Philadelphia should root for Andy Reid. Whatever your feelings were to Andy Reid and your opinions were of Andy Reid during his tenure, you do have to root for him to get this Super Bowl, especially, and yes, it does make it easier that you got a Super Bowl. You got your Super Bowl. Now, that's another team, just like Kansas City, that ended their drought, won their first Super Bowl title. Kansas City going for their first in 50 years. Eagles won their first Super Bowl after a long drought. Sometimes it's just your time. I think everyone around the NFL should root for Andy Reid to get his first ring because it's a great story. It's a great storyline. And for Eagles fans who kind of still have that, sense of see Andy Reid as this polarizing figure who never got it done, you really should still look at Andy Reid and say, "Wow, we really had a great." Again, appreciate what Andy Reid did for the Eagles during his tenure because he was great. He was fantastic during that run. It was one of the more dominant runs we've seen in any conference in the NFC. It just unfortunately didn't have a Super Bowl to go with it. And hey, again, you ran into some really good teams. Tampa Bay was great. Greatest defense of all time. One of the greatest defense of all time. The Rams, greatest show on turf. Panthers were just really good. The Patriots were a dynasty. The Cardinals were on this amazing run. Like I said, it makes it easier for Eagle fans now because they got their ring. But I also do think there are still some Eagle fans who hold some resentment towards Andy Reid, and there are still some people in Philadelphia who hold some resentment towards Reid too. Again, I think the city, I think everyone in Philadelphia and everyone around the NFL should root for Andy Reid because this is a great story. 20 years as a head coach, all the success he's had with the Eagles, the heartbreak now with the Chiefs, and they were, fans of Kansas City, same thing, questioning him. Can he get us to a Super Bowl? Can he win a Super Bowl? All the heartbreaks. We've had the heartbreak last year, the collapse against the Colts, the collapse against the Titans. Can we actually, losing to Pittsburgh at home in 2016 when we were the 1 or 2 seed in the conference? Can we win one with him? Is he really a guy who can get us to the Super Bowl and win us a Super Bowl? The same reaction that the Philadelphia Eagle fans had for years were also the same one that Chiefs were having for the last 6 or 7 years. And here he is. Again, it's tough to get back, but here he is, 1 win away from his first Super Bowl title, and you root for that. Andy Reid's got everything. Andy Reid, we can question his postseasons, but he's got everything. Regular season awards, being labeled as one of the top 3 coaches in the league. He has well over 200 wins, sitting at 207 regular season wins, 221 career wins. Andy Reid now has the opportunity, just like Pat Mahomes, again, makes them this perfect match. The whole Andy Reid and the Chiefs, perfect match. Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, perfect match. Again, Pat Mahomes being added to a list of quarterbacks, and Andy Reid has taken and groomed into a successful quarterback in the National Football League. You can add Pat Mahomes to the list. Andy Reid and adding another part of Andy Reid's Hall of Fame resume. Everyone in the league should be rooting for Andy Reid, should be pulling for Andy Reid. Obviously, 49er fans want their 6th Super Bowl title. 49er fans want to catch up to the Steelers in terms of Super Bowls, catch up to the Patriots in terms of Super Bowls. They haven't won one since the year that Steve Young led the Super Bowl against the Chargers. Obviously went to the Super Bowl at 47 against the Ravens, lost that one in the last minute of the game. So sure, 49er fans are, want their 6th Super Bowl. So other than 49er fans in the city of San Francisco, I think everyone around football should be rooting for Andy Reid to get his first Super Bowl title and completing what already is a Hall of Fame career. Now, Andy Reid's already a Hall of Famer. He's already one of the best coaches of all time. He's already one of the best coaches of the last couple generations now, And he's probably got a few more years left and a few years left coaching. He's 61 years old. Sure, but no signs of slowing down. You've got a great team. You've got what my opinion is now the most talented quarterback in the National Football League. So this won't be Andy Reid's, swan song. Not saying he's going to retire if they win. Andy Reid, I think, will coach for another few years. But you find yourself rooting for Andy Reid. You find yourself saying you hope he gets his first ring, complete his resume, complete his Hall of Fame coaching career, both as an assistant and now, of course, as a head coach, and win his first Super Bowl as a head coach. I think that would be an amazing story. I think that would be a great capper to what has been a great year for the Chiefs, and what also has been a Hall of Fame career for Andy Reid, and again culminating in a long journey back. It's been 15 years. Andy Reid's been one of the top coaches in the NFL for 20 years. His first time back in 15 years. Watching his other coaches, watching his own coaching tree, Doug Peterson, John Harbaugh, win Super Bowls. Watching his own tree win Super Bowls. Sean McDermott's been really successful in Buffalo. He's been really successful in Buffalo. It's almost like it is time for Andy Reid, right? Like it is time for him to get that first Super Bowl. It is time for him to finally win, right? I think all of us should kind of get that feeling like it's time. God, San Francisco will be an incredibly tough task, and they've been maybe the best team in the NFL all season long. But this is Andy. You got the sense that maybe that you get in the sense that right. Maybe this is Andy Reid's time. Maybe this is his time to finally get that first Super Bowl ring and complete his Hall of Fame resume. Andy Reid going back to the Super Bowl and going for his quest to get his first, I think is a great story. And getting over the hump and getting over that AFC Championship game, that AFC Championship hill that has eluded him, and getting back to a Super Bowl that has eluded him for 15 years and getting to it with the Kansas City Chiefs, And again, like I said, they've been so successful, the Chiefs. Six playoff appearances in 7 years. You've gone from a really good tenure overall with Alex Smith to a what could be a really good, what could be a great start to the Pat Mahomes tenure and the Pat Mahomes era. I think we all find ourselves rooting for Andy Reid, hoping Reid gets his first Super Bowl ring, because I think Andy Reid deserves it. He deserves to finally have his moment, deserves to finally have his Super Bowl championship moment, and I think everyone around the league will be pulling for him. I think most people in the league will be pulling for him to get his first Super Bowl title. So good for Andy Reid to get to winning yesterday. Good for Andy Reid to get back to the Super Bowl, and let's see what happens. Let's see in 2 weeks. He's got a big game to prepare. The 49ers defense is really good, as we saw yesterday. Again, a tough, well-balanced offense, another really good coach, a young, up-and-coming coach that he's going to have to face off against Kyle Shanahan. We saw the 49ers performance. Let's see how Andy Reid coaches up and responds to the 49ers, because yesterday, that was a dominant beating that they once again laid to the Green Bay Packers. Twice they dominated the Packers. When we get back on the Haystack Show, we'll talk more about the 49ers performance and their win over Green Bay right after this.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Back at it for the Haystack Show. It is 1:30 right now in New York, Long Island, New York, on a beautiful Monday, January 20th, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, celebrating the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Yesterday in the NFC Championship game, we talked before early in the show in hour one about the Kansas City Chiefs, and we put a bow in the Titans season and their great run. Was a fantastic ride. You give them all the credit in the world. They do have some decisions to make in the offseason, but for what they did this season, the Titans were fantastic, and they were a fantastic story. Ryan Tannehill was a fantastic story. He's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. Derrick Henry, along with Pat Mahomes, was the postseason MVP. So I think for the Titans, great year. Try to get better, try to get over the hump. But this season's a great building block and a great foundation starter for the Titans under Mike Vrabel in his second year as Titans head coach. For the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes taking over the NFL, becoming the most talented quarterback, in my opinion, in the National Football League, and Andy Reid's journey. Great for Andy Reid, awesome for Andy Reid, awesome for the Chiefs, awesome for the city of Kansas City. Their fan base waited 50 years. They waited 50 years to get back to a Super Bowl. And hey, it does. That's been before we get to the NFC title game. That's kind of been a thing, right? That's kind of been a continuous thing in sports now. Teams breaking droughts, overcoming the odds. Finally getting to the top, right? Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Cubs, the Red Sox, of course, the St. Louis Blues, the Eagles, mentioned the Eagles before, the Kansas City Royals, et cetera, right? That's what you love about sports, and I love the fact that we're in a timeline, we're in an era where it's really not impossible now. Like, if you're a Browns fan and you see you see what's been going on lately, and teams breaking droughts, winning championships, you're like, hey, yeah, that could be us. I'm a Mets fan. We haven't won a World Series in 30 years. Over 30 years now, 33 years. Gives you hope, right? You're a Jets fan. You have Jets, just like the Chiefs. The Jets won Super Bowl III. A year later, the Chiefs won it. You're a Jets fan. You're watching the Chiefs get back. It's like, hey, we can get back too. It gives you Lions fans, and any fan base with a drought like this, with a drought or hasn't been to a championship or hasn't won a championship, when you're seeing this going on, and Kansas City just adds to it, it gives you hope. The Nationals, of course, the Washington Nationals, winning their first championship ever, counting also their years as the Montreal Expos and their magical run to the World Series. It gives you. It's great because it's awesome because it gives you, as that fan who hasn't seen a championship or has seen heartbreak after heartbreak for years with a team, like the Mets, whatever. It gives you hope that it could happen. Hey, it's not impossible. It could happen, and maybe it's going to happen. So it gives us what's going on now. Gives us that perspective. I think it's awesome. To the NFC title game and the 49ers. This was dominant. This was just pure dominance. And I didn't think we'd get that. I really didn't. I don't think anyone thought that the Chiefs and the Packers in a rematch would be another blowout. San Francisco blew out Green Bay the last time they met. And usually when teams meet again in the postseason, right, it's, okay, they mean the postseason, it's going to be close. Look at Jets-Patriots, 2010. Patriots blew them out 45-3 in their previous meeting, their second meeting. Playoffs happened, the Jets beat them. The Ravens and the Broncos in 2012. Broncos went into Baltimore and blew them out. Baltimore came to Denver in the playoffs, beat them and pulled it out. We've seen that a lot in sports where a team meets them in the regular season, come back postseason, and and the game is the game is either close or they end up beating it. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I mentioned before, Chiefs lost to the Titans, right, in the regular season, and came back in the postseason and won. You either don't expect that, you either think it's going to be a different outcome, or at least it's going to be close with the team that won the regular season winning again in the postseason. This wasn't the case. This was, once again, San Francisco just outmatching and just out-physicaling and out-beating up the Green Bay Packers. And you watch the 49ers offensive line. I mean, what can you say other than perfection? And I give a lot of credit to Kyle Shanahan because, a lot of coaches kind of get away from their game plan, kind of, try something different, maybe try to change the time. No, Kyle Shanahan, just like last week against the Minnesota Vikings, was like, no, just keep running it. Like, they can't stop it. Just keep running it. We're going to keep running it. We're going to run. 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 And you just got to say, hey, just stop it. You just got to stop it, Green Bay. Kyle Shanahan's coaching, I thought, was great yesterday. I loved it. He's telling the Green Bay Packers, guys, I'm going to keep running it. Raheem Mostert ran for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns on 29 carries. 220, 4 touchdowns on 29 carries. You talk about and Jimmy Garoppolo only threw the ball 8 times. Jimmy Garoppolo only threw the ball 8 times for 77 yards. He only threw the ball 8 times. 8 times. That's it. Just 8 times. The 49ers ran the ball a total of 29 by Mostert, 2 by Deebo Samuel for 31. Tevin Coleman had 6. Matt Breida had 1. They ran the ball 39 times overall. Garoppolo also had 4 rushes for -1 yard, but obviously, but for Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel, Tevin Coleman, and Matt Breida, 38 carries. We're going to keep running the football. And you got to stop it. Kyle Shanahan never changed. Kyle Shanahan never changed his approach, never changed his philosophy, just kept running and running and running and running and running. And I love that because he saw the 49ers offensive line. He saw his team's offensive line. And he said, we're winning the battle line of scrimmage. And that's how you win Super Bowls. That's how you win in the playoffs. You win the playoffs with great offensive line. We talked about Pat Mahomes earlier in the show. Pat Mahomes had great protection in the offensive line. He had plenty of time in the pocket yesterday in his game against Tennessee. He had plenty of time in the pocket. The offensive lines and the line of scrimmage is always the biggest contributor, the biggest factor of why you win football games in general and why you win postseason games in general. It is. It just is. And it's the ultimate building block to win football games, and especially in the postseason. And the 49ers offensive line against a pretty good Green Bay defensive front, once again, was fantastic. They were pushing Packers. I was listening to the radio broadcast of the game last night on the way, and they were talking about it, just like, I don't see any Packer jerseys. I don't see any Green Bay Packers pushing the offensive line. They are being pushed back. There is no one on the Packers disrupting the line of scrimmage and stopping the 49ers running attack. They are being pushed back. And that's exactly what it was. And I think Kyle Shanahan, again, just how good he is as a young football coach and what he's done with the 49ers coaching-wise. And also, again, credit to John Lynch for building this team and building this offensive line. it was impressive. It was absolutely impressive. And Raheem Mostert had an amazing performance. 29 carries, 224 touchdowns. They only threw the ball 8 times. 8 times. We say it's a passing league. It's a passing league. It's a passing league. The 49ers just won. Again, it's not. And I see some people going to Jimmy Garoppolo and saying, well, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's terrible. He's like, he only threw the ball 8 times. See, they didn't need him to win. Yada, yada. Thing was, when you're running the football, but again, that's where I kind of appreciate what Shanahan did, because when you're dominating one asset of the game, one facet of the game that much, it's kind of like, why do you stop? Why open it with Jimmy Garoppolo? Why open it with so-and-so? With any quarterback. If I'm dominating one phase of the game, at a certain, especially in a championship game, I got nothing less than the Super Bowl on the line. It's just the Super Bowl on the line. I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to keep telling the Green Bay Packers, dude, stop it. Here, a run's coming. Just stop it. And they just never could. They never could. And the 49ers defense, once again, just was their dominant selves. They held Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers was 31 of 39, 326, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. But obviously, the numbers really kind of were, again, it was kind of, again, garbage time. The game was what, 24-0 at halftime, 27-0 at halftime. 27-0 at halftime. The game's over. Again, you never count out guys like Aaron Rodgers. You never do. You never count out Aaron Rodgers. You never count out Tom Brady. You never count out, Roethlisberger. You never count out Pat Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, etc. You never count those guys out in any game that you're down in. But just kind of like with Kansas City. Granted, Kansas City's lead was only a 4-point lead at half. But again, you just got the feeling that it was over, right? With Kansas City, for me, it was that same feeling. Pat Mahomes scored that amazing touchdown run, and I'm thinking it's over. The 49ers get up 27-0 at halftime at home in the NFC title game. Again, you just got the feeling it's over. It's over. Green Bay scored 20 points the rest of the way, 7 points in the third quarter, 13 in the fourth. But again, it was over. 27-0. That was it. That's all they needed. And Kyle Shanahan and the great job they did just sticking with the game plan, sticking with what was working, because you get coaches who overthink things. And it's why Bill Belichick is the best coach in the NFL, because there are a lot of coaches who overthink things, like Bill O'Brien last week against the Chiefs, going for the fake punt, which was not a good idea at all. Ridiculous idea. You're still up 24-7. It's okay. Just punt the ball. Again, it's simple. Bill Belichick does the simple things right. It's sometimes it's just the little things. For Shanahan yesterday was kind of like that. It was just the little things, right? Let's just keep running the football. Let's keep it simple. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Don't fumble the football. Don't throw a costly interception. But we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to stick with our game plan. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. And we're going to run the football. That's just that. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We are going to run the football. We are going to beat the Packers like that. And until they stop it, we're going to keep doing it. And Raheem Mostert had holes and lanes that were incredible. Again, credit to the offense line. Credit to George Kittle. George Kittle is one of the best all-around tight ends in the NFL. Raheem Mostert had all day to run. It was an incredible performance by him, an incredible performance by the 49ers offensive line. Obviously, another incredible performance by the 49ers defense. They continue to be the best defense in the NFL probably all year. Really, they've been the best defense in the NFL all year long. And it'll be a fun Super Bowl. I mentioned before, it'll be a fun Super Bowl to see the best defense in the NFL. Once again, kind of like last year, right? Best defense in the NFL was the Patriots last year. And here comes the best offense in the NFL in the Rams. Last year, the best defense in the Patriots beat the best offense. Let's see if that, and a lot of times that is the case. A lot of times when the best defense takes on the best offense, the best defense a lot of times wins. So we'll see if that reigns true. But again, this is, Pat Mahomes is on a roll. Pat Mahomes is having one of the greatest postseasons for a quarterback of all time. So San Francisco's defense against this offense of the Chiefs will be a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to see how Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan game plan against each other. And I mentioned Andy Reid and his journey to get back, while it hasn't been as long for Kyle Shanahan, and he's obviously just starting as a head coach, there is a story there for Shanahan too. This is his first, not only his first Super Bowl as a head coach, but it's a shot at redemption because he was the offensive coordinator, as we all know, for the Atlanta Falcons when they lost 28-3, when they blew the 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. He was the offensive coordinator, and he got a lot of criticism for that. He got a lot of criticism for that. So here's his shot at redemption against a coach looking for, after a long journey, looking to put the capper on his Hall of Fame coaching resume career with a Super Bowl ring. So that Kyle Shanahan's story adds to Andy Reid's story. Two great coaches going at it, trying to get their first Super Bowls, and both have a story and both have something to gain. But for San Francisco yesterday, complete domination, complete decimation of the Packers, and there's nothing more you can say other than that. They dominated every facet of the game, offensive line, defensive line, and they ran the ball well over 30 times. Mostert had 29 carries. 29 carries for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. So they stuck by their game plan, just kept running and running and running, and the Green Bay Packers just didn't have an answer. They just didn't have an answer. And what else can you say other than that? San Francisco is sticking by their game plan. They're going to run the football. They're going to be balanced on offense, and you just have to stop it. And Green Bay just couldn't do it. So to the 49ers Chiefs will be a fun Super Bowl. We're looking forward to it. When we get back on the Haystack Show, we'll put a bow in the Green Bay Packers season. We talked about the Tennessee Titans season before, and now we will talk about the Green Bay Packers season.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Back at it on the Haystack Show. I'm Evan Mazza here for the Haystack, filling in for Mike Guido. Hope he's out today. So, like I said before, backup quarterback in, starting quarterback out for the day. Hoping to have Mike. But Mike, I hope you're feeling good. Hope you're feeling okay. We'll see you back tomorrow for the Haystack Show on Tuesday. Obviously, he'll dive in more into the conference championship games and dive in more into the Super Bowl. A lot to get into not only for the rest of today, but for tomorrow and the rest of the week. Number to dial is 845-478-3272 to call up. 845-478-3272. Call up. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about the conference title games. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. What are you excited about? You excited for the Super Bowl? What are you looking forward to the most? What's your biggest storyline going to the Super Bowl? What's your biggest takeaway for the conference championship games? Call up and have some fun on this beautiful Monday. We talked about the 49ers. Let's get into the team that they not just beat, but absolutely demolished. This wasn't close. The San Francisco 49ers absolutely manhandled the Green Bay Packers. I guess there's one of two ways you can take away the Green Bay Packers season. You can look at it and say, okay, hey, first-year head coach, you had with Matt LaFleur, you got to the NFC title game. Aaron Rodgers, there wasn't anything going on with Rodgers and Matt LaFleur as far as that we heard. Obviously Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, all the tension and everything that was going on with them over the last couple of years. There was nothing really that happened with Rodgers and Matt LaFleur as far as that we know. Everything was kind of quiet. Everything was in rhythm. Everything was working. Sure, was the offense great? Was the offense great? Not really, but it was good. The offense. What I liked about the Packers offense was it was well balanced. It was good. They played well. They just played good, sound football, and they got the job done. And a lot of times, that's just enough to get to a Super Bowl. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers don't have a great offense per se, but they're good, they're balanced, they have a great offensive line, good running game, good quarterback, and they just run the ball and they play efficient, sound football. Like the Niners don't – the Chiefs have a great offense. They do. But the Niners kind of have that similar offense that Green Bay does. So – you can look at this season in two ways. And the first way is, hey, this is a really good year. We won the NFC North when a lot of people were expecting Chicago to win the North or even Minnesota. I picked the Bears personally not to win the NFC North, but to go and win the Super Bowl. Hey, that didn't happen. Not even close, really. Questions about how does Aaron Rodgers handle Matt LaFleur? How's Matt LaFleur handle Aaron Rodgers? How does their defense? How does their defense go? And overall, the Packers' response was a really, really, really good year. Finished with the number 2 seed in the NFC, won the NFC North Division title, won a playoff game, beat the Seahawks, got a first-round bye. They just ran into a really good football team in the San Francisco 49ers. And the one thing that really hurt them all season long, and it came back to really hurt them yesterday, was their running game. The Green Bay Packers' running attack was in the low 20s all season long. Their run defense all season long was in the low 20s, 26th to 28th, around that range. It was not a very good run defense. And again, when you hit the postseason, stopping the run is a key priority. It's a key priority, and it eventually comes back to bite you if you can't do it during the regular season. You may be able to get by during the regular season with it, or even having one deficiency on your defense, like if you can't stop the pass, can't stop the run, can't get after the quarterback. You could probably get to the postseason, but you're not going to go far. Eventually, not getting after the quarterback will come back to bite you in the postseason. Not being able to stop the run will come back to bite you in the postseason. Not being able to stop the pass, et cetera, especially stopping the run. The Green Bay Packers' rush defense was one of the worst in the NFL all season long. So you run into the Seahawks, good football team. I wouldn't have been surprised if Seattle pulled off the win against Green Bay. I was actually pretty close to picking Seattle last week, but Seattle's running game was kind of had problems with injuries, had to go into this game trying to they brought back Marshawn Lynch right before the postseason even began. A week before, he was in Oakland for their final home game. They brought him back trying to spark something in their running game, trying to get, someone that they were familiar with. So here comes the 49ers with a really good rushing attack. And they were fantastic. And again, a great offensive line. Seattle's offensive line is kind of iffy. San Fran's got a great offensive line. And they just dominated. And that's what happened. The Packers' biggest weakness on their defense, as good as it is, as great as it was, especially getting after the quarterback and creating turnovers, that whole factor of not stopping the run came back to bite them. And that's pretty much what happened. You could look at the season as a success because you had a first-year head coach and a first year with a new quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, gaining that chemistry and everything. You can look at the season and say, hey, we found a running game with Aaron Jones. We have a good pass rush led by led by Preston and Zadarius Smith. We just need to build. We have a decent enough secondary. We just need to build off this season and improve. We got some key free agents to think about. Brian Bulaga's a free agent. Blake Martinez is a free agent. But if you're a Packer fan, you're thinking, hey, maybe we get another receiver opposite Devontae Adams, add more to the defense and to stop the run. Maybe you might have to think, who knows, with middle linebacker with Blake Martinez's free agency, you might have to fill in your offensive line. If Brian Bulaga departs, you got to assume the Green Bay Packers will make re-signing Brian Bulaga a priority. But for the positive perspective, you kind of look at that and say, we got a good football team. We'll be okay. We just need to build on some things and build on this year in a season that was overall still really good in a tough NFC North division. The Bears were the popular pick to win the division. That didn't happen. The Vikings were another popular pick to win the division. That didn't happen. It was still Green Bay's division. Green Bay swept the Bears after Chicago beat them to win the division last year in Chicago. Green Bay took care of business against the Vikings on Monday Night Football in order to seal the NFC North Division title. So they did take some steps in the right direction. Now, however, on the other hand, if you want to look at this perspective with the Packers, it's this. Well, Aaron Rodgers is now going to be 36, 37 years old by the time the postseason begins next year. He'll be entering his 36-year-old season next season. He's not getting any younger. We need to catch up, and we need to catch up to the rest of the NFC. And all that, sure, is totally true. That the 49ers are leaps and bounds better than them right now. I think you could be looking at Seattle. If Seattle gets better, if Seattle continues to get better, who knows with them? The Saints will be the Saints. The Saints will be back. They will be back. The Vikings, you got to figure, will always be a threat in the NFC North. We'll see with the Bears. You still figure the Bears are talented. And if they can find their answer quarterback, whether it's Trubisky, if he could bounce back, or it's someone else, whether it's Bridgewater, Rivers, Brady, et cetera, a draft pick, if they can figure it out, maybe they can have a bounce back year. So sure, you can look at it like that and saying, well, again, we don't know how many chances we're going to get with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be 36. Father Time's undefeated. When does the clock strike midnight on Aaron Rodgers and his opportunities to go back and win a Super Bowl? I think for the Green Bay Packers is this. So if you're a Packers fan and you're looking at the Packers season, you can look at it in one of those two ways. I'm going to look at it in the way of, hey, they had a really good year. They were 13-3. They were fantastic. Got the number 2 seed. They won a division where, again, not many people. Some people picked them with the division, but it was still a popular pick to pick the Bears. It was still a popular pick to maybe pick Minnesota. You like the fact that they finally have a running game in Aaron Jones. You finally found something in Aaron Jones to complement Aaron Rodgers as the years go on with Rodgers. You got a great pass rush on defense. You just got to improve the run. Just improve their run defense. That run defense is the biggest reason why you are not in the Super Bowl right now. Fix that run defense, and maybe, just maybe, you're playing next year in the Super Bowl. Again, they got to find some pieces to go along right tackle with Brian Bulaga and see what happens with him with his free agency. Find out what's going to happen with Blake Martinez in free agency. Try to get another number receiver with Devonta, complement Devontae Adams. And I think that's another big key they should look at, really. Try to find another complement receiver to Devontae Adams. Get Aaron Rodgers legit number 2 receiver. That's something we've all talked about. We've talked about it on the show. It's been talked about a lot around football that the Packers really need to. Devontae Adams has really proven. I remember there was a time when people thought Devontae Adams was bad. I remember that. That's kind of a weird timeline. There was a time where people thought Devontae Adams was bad. Now this kid's really good. Devontae Adams is really good. So it would be so big for the Packers to find another receiver and to complement Devontae Adams. And who knows who it is? Maybe they go out and sign Amari Cooper. I don't know. Maybe whoever they find in the draft. It'll be interesting to watch because this is a good Packer team. I'm leaning of the opinion that they're going to be back, and they're going to be just fine. They took a lot of steps in the right direction. That they found a running game with Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers will still be Aaron Rodgers. Their defense has got a legit pass rush to go after the quarterback and get after not only the division with their pass rush, but also the entire conference because you still got Jared Goff, Carson Wentz will be back next season, and you got to figure the Eagles are going to be back. You got to figure the Eagles are going to bounce back and get guys who were hurt this year, get them back healthy, and be better than what they were this year. What they did this year was incredible. What the Eagles did this year was incredible. And if they get some guys back next year, healthy, they'll be back. They'll be back as true Super Bowl contenders. The Dallas Cowboys getting their former Packer coach Mike McCarthy, I think will be big. That'll be big for them. I thought that was exactly the hire they needed to make. And again, you got the Rams. We'll see what happens with them. Seattle, San Fran will still be San Fran. The Saints will still be the Saints. So the conference will be tougher for the Packers, but they have a team and they have a pass rush to get by that conference and to win the NFC. They got to make some improvements here and there. I don't think the season was certainly ending in a disappointment for them. Certainly disappointing to get blown out in the NFC title game. Certainly disappointing. Certainly disappointing to get run over and dominated. But there's a lot of good things to look forward to if you're the Packers. There's a lot of things you can say and look back on this season and say, you know what, we were pretty good and we'll get better. We still got a couple more years at the very least with Aaron Rodgers. He'll be 36 again. So, yeah, the clock is ticking on the Rodgers era in Green Bay. And the quest to get a second Super Bowl with Rodgers, I don't think is over. And I felt like there were some of us felt that way. Some people felt that these last couple of years that their quest to win a second Super Bowl was over. Well, it proved this year it's not. The window is back wide open for the Packers to go and win a second Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. So they just need to make some improvements here and there. Try to look at free agency. Maybe improve on the run defense again. Their run defense is one of the worst in the league this year. Look for a complement receiver and to Devontae Adams. A legit number 2 option for Aaron Rodgers would be great. Do all that, they'll be okay, and they'll be the favorites next year. They will be the favorites, in my opinion, even today before the offseason officially begins. They're the favorites to win the NFC North. Minnesota's still pretty darn good. Chicago has the potential to really bounce back and be the team that we saw in 2018. But as of today, and especially if the Packers can make some additions into the offseason, they'll be the favorites again in the NFC North. and still Super Bowl favorites again to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So if I'm the Packers, it's again disappointing, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. You still got some years left with Aaron Rodgers. You established some things with Matt LaFleur. I like where they're going offensively. Pass rush wise, defense, they're great defensively in the pass rush. Just need to improve the runs. Just need to improve stopping the run. That really needs to become a key factor this offseason for the Packers. But overall, I do think this was a successful year. Some of us may look and say, well, you waste another year of Rodgers, another gold opportunity gone with Rodgers. Well, I guess we'll see, but I do like the directions the Packers took this year. I think next year they'll be right back in this thing, and they'll be one of the top teams in the NFC. In 2020. Coming right up to wrap up the Haystack show will be bold predictions. I got 3 bold predictions to wrap up this show. This is the Haystack live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Back at it to wrap up the Haystack show. Evan Mazza here. We're going to do bold predictions right now. After a exciting weekend in the conference championships, the 49ers and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. We'll have all 2 weeks to talk about it prior to Super Bowl 54. A lot of things to look forward to. I think it's we got the best offense in the NFL. You could debate. We could debate which offense is the best. Chiefs, Ravens, Saints. We could debate who was the best offense in all year long, regular season wise. But for me, it's the best offense in the league in the Chiefs against the best defense in the league in San Francisco. I think that's just like last year, in my opinion. We had the best defense in the Patriots against the best offense in the LA Rams. I think that's great. I think in the Super Bowl, I think it's great to get a matchup like that. We'll see what happens. 2 great coaches going at it. Pat Mahomes is having one of the best postseasons of any quarterback we've ever seen. It's certainly up there with some of the best postseason performances by a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo looking for his first Super Bowl championship as a starting quarterback. Obviously, he was the backup to the Patriots in 2014, 2016. He looks for his first as a starter. We'll see what happens. I think this will be great. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a very, very fun Super Bowl. And I think in 2 weeks, we're going to be in for a really good game. And a great year for the Tennessee Titans, a magical run by the Tennessee Titans, and a really good year for the Green Bay Packers. And we'll see how these 2 teams, the Titans and the Packers, get better going to next season. We'll see if they can get back to the conference championship games. But for now, let's do bold predictions. I'll start with my first bold prediction. Will be this: over the week on Friday, Jason Garrett was named the new offensive coordinator of the New York Giants, from Dallas Cowboy to New York Giant. Jason Garrett named the offensive coordinator for the Giants. He will be coaching up Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley in this offense. We'll see what kind of steps forward they can make for the Giants and Daniel Jones' development. I actually like the hire for the New York Giants. I think it's a good hire. But the big question for me is, will this be Jason Garrett's final only season as the Giants offensive coordinator? I actually think that's what's going to happen, because my first bold prediction, Jason Garrett will be a head coach again in 2021. Jason Garrett had a head coaching interest this offseason. The New York Giants are one of them until they hired Joe Judge and then brought in Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator. I think it's also another reason why they brought in Jason Garrett, to help Joe Judge kind of ease his way into the head coaching, his first head coaching gig, kind of like a bench coach, a veteran bench coach coming in to help out a first-year manager. It happens. It happens all the time in sports. I think Jason Garrett, we could talk about Jason Garrett's reign as head coach in Dallas. We could talk about that for hours and hours and hours. We could talk about Jason Garrett's tenure for as long as we can in Dallas. But 10 years is 10 years for a lot of football teams will look at that. Hey, 10 years is 10 years. So bringing an offensive coordinator like Garrett to kind of ease in Joe Judge not only helps for Joe Judge, but for Jason Garrett's case as a head coach and to become a head coach again, that also helps. I think Jason Garrett, after this season, will be okay as an offensive coordinator with the Giants. Hey, we forget, why did Jason Garrett become the head coach of the Cowboys? Because he was a really good offensive mind. He was a really good offensive mind for the Dallas Cowboys. 2007, he was offensive coordinator. 2008, 2010, he was the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator until he took over in the middle of the 2010 season for Wade Phillips. Got some pretty good years out of Tony Romo. who was a young quarterback just becoming a starter. Interestingly enough, Jason Garrett took over as offensive coordinator in 2007 in Tony Romo's second year as the starter. He took over in 2006 as the starter. This was Romo's second year as a starter, first full year as a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Daniel Jones will now enter his second full year as a starting quarterback, second year overall as a starting quarterback for the New York Giants. Again, like Tony Romo. So, and like Tony Romo, Romo's first year, when Romo was the first year as the quarterback in 2006, took over for a veteran, Drew Bledsoe. Daniel Jones this past year took over for a veteran, Eli Manning. So I think I like the hire for Jason Garrett for the New York Giants. I do like the hire also for Jason Garrett. I think this will help the Giants. I think this will help Daniel Jones. Not a big fan of Jason Garrett as a head coach. I think personally he's a bad head coach with a decent resume. Too much underachievements as a head coach. But I do think for a lot of NFL teams and the perspective around the NFL, 10 years is 10 years. 10 years is 10 years as a football head coach. I do think Jason Garrett will get another opportunity next season, 2021. So, first bold prediction, Jason Garrett will be a new head coach again, will be a head coach of an NFL team again in 2021. Second bold prediction, for the Super Bowl. These next two will be for the Super Bowl. The first one, the 49ers are going to run the ball 40 times against the Kansas City Chiefs. 49ers running the ball 40 times against the Kansas City Chiefs. They ran the ball with Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, 39 times. 39 times against the Green Bay Packers yesterday. So Tevin Coleman, they ran it 39 times in total with those guys yesterday. It's going to have to be that kind of strategy, too, against Pat Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. They're going to have to run the football, play physical on the offensive line, chew down clock, score points, keep Pat Mahomes off the field. That's how the Niners are going to win this football game. Be balanced on offense, just continue what they've been all season and all postseason. So Kyle Shanahan, I think, will recognize the strategy. He'll recognize a way to beat the Chiefs and keep Pat Mahomes. You're not going to stop Pat Mahomes, but you can at least limit him and keep him off the field. And the Titans did a decent job of that early in the game. It's just again, too much Chiefs, too much Pat Mahomes was fantastic. Too many big plays allowed on defense by the Titans to this offense. The Chiefs' defense did buckle down and stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was held to 19 carries for a little over 60 yards rushing, well below compared to what Henry did in the last two postseason games against the Ravens and the Patriots, and also against what he did the last time against the Chiefs, where he ran for over 180 yards. So they buckled down, stop Henry. The Chiefs' defense is going to have to do that again, buckle down, stop this combination of running backs of Mostert, Coleman, Breida, and this 49ers offensive line. So I think Shanahan recognizes that strategy. Shanahan is going to know how to stop, is going to figure and realize that that's how he's going to have to do to stop this Chiefs offense and stop Pat Mahomes. So the 49ers offense will run the ball 40 times against the Chiefs offense on Super Bowl Sunday. My third and final bold prediction, Super Bowl, leading up to the Super Bowl, we've had 29 MVPs at quarterback, Super Bowl MVPs at quarterback. We've had 29 quarterbacks win Super Bowl MVP. We've had 7 wide receivers. We've had 4 linebackers. We've had 2 safeties. We've had 1 kick returner, punt returner. That was Desmond Howard. 1 corner in Larry Brown, Super Bowl 30 for the Dallas Cowboys. 2 defensive ends win Super Bowl MVP. 1 defensive tackle win Super Bowl MVP. And actually the first defensive end, defensive tackle to both win Super Bowl MVP were co-MVPs. That was Harvey Martin and Randy White in Super Bowl 12 for the Dallas Cowboys. We've never had a tight end win Super Bowl MVP. And again, I know the popular pick is always the quarterback. I know. It was. Trust me. Pat Mahomes or Jimmy Garoppolo will probably win the Super Bowl MVP if the Niners and Chiefs win. But I got to do bold prediction, right? I got to be bold here, and I'm actually gonna not just be a bold prediction, but I actually do think this will be the case because you do have 2 really good tight ends going at it against on Super Bowl Sunday with Travis Kelce, one of the best pass-catching tight ends and one of the best tight ends around the NFL, and George Kittle, who's one of the more complete tight ends in the NFL. He can block. He can go out and catch. So I'm going to say, and again, I know blocking doesn't get put on the number sheets and gets put on the stat sheets, and it won't be looked at to look for the Super Bowl MVP, but as the impact and value that it adds for Kittle, I think is big. So I think, bold prediction, the Super Bowl MVP will be either Travis Kelce or George Kittle. Never happened before. It's never happened before. We've never had a tight end as Super Bowl MVP. We've never had one be Super Bowl MVP. We've had wide receiver. We've had virtually every position except kicker. Virtually every position except kicker wins Super Bowl MVP. And tight end, too. So kicker and tight end. Virtually every position except kicker and tight end wins Super Bowl MVP. I think this is the first year we get it. So Kittle or Travis Kelce will be your Super Bowl MVPs. It will be one of them will be your Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 54. I should say, not both, because that would mean probably a tie. We don't want a tie. It won't be a tie, but one of them will be Super Bowl MVP in 2 weeks between the Chiefs and the 49ers. And I think that'll be really cool, and I think we're in for a good, fun game in 2 weeks in Miami, Florida. So that'll do it for the Haystack Show. I've been Evan Mazza filling in for Mike. Enjoy your Monday. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.